All right, so Giorgia Meloni just gave us the most Italian reaction in political history, the classic eye roll of death. Um, right as Germany tried to lecture Trump about peace talks. And it's not just funny, it shows the divide inside Europe over Ukraine and NATO and who actually gets to steer negotiations. Spoiler alert, it's not Berlin. When Italy's prime minister looks like she'd rather be at a football game than listening to Germany drone on, you know diplomacy has entered meme territory.
Would take place.
Well, we're going to
Let's work on that and let's try to put pressure on Russia, because the credibility of these efforts we are undertaking are depending on at least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations from next step on. So I would like to...
Classic German foreign policy. Lecture everyone while doing absolutely nothing. Her face says it all. She's like, bro, you don't even have tanks that actually work. Stop acting like you're General Patton, I predict that in the next EU meeting, Germany will propose peace by holding a renewable energy summit, because wind turbines really scare Russia.
Emphasize this aspect and would like to see a ceasefire from the next meeting, which should be a trilateral meeting wherever it takes place.
Well, we're going to let the president go over and
The
talk
twitch,
to the
eye
president.
twitch. The hilarious moment was caught on camera as Merz attempted to lecture US President Donald Trump about achieving a ceasefire. Meloni, seemingly uninterested, rolled her eyes when the German Chancellor said the ceasefire must take place before a trilateral meeting.
President, dear Donald, many thanks for having us.
Dear
today.
Donald!
I think this is extremely helpful that we are
She's
meeting and hearing that
She's checking out
two of
already.
You are having such a good meeting today here in Washington. The next steps ahead are the more complicated ones now. The path is open. You opened it last Friday.
He starts up with Dear Donald like it's bedtime story. That's why Meloni here is checking out. And he's probably thinking, what's for dinner at Mar-a-Lago? At this point, Italy will just offer to negotiate peace over espresso and cannoli. Might actually work faster too.
But now the way is open for complicated negotiations. And to be honest, we all would like to see a ceasefire, the latest from the next meeting on. I can't imagine that the next meeting would take place without a ceasefire. So let's work on that and let's try to put pressure on, because the credibility
Her
of
face.
these efforts we are undertaking today are depending on at least a ceasefire from the beginning of the serious negotiations.
Oh, ceasefire. Say it again. Buzzwords.
From next step on. So I would like to emphasize this aspect and would like to see a ceasefire from the next meeting, which should be a trilateral meeting.
In another comical moment from the Italian Prime Minister during the meeting, she had a hot mic moment while talking to Trump.
Thank you for being so fair.
Thank you, Donald.
All the time.
But he loves it. He loves it, For he does it every
He loves it, He loves it.
I never want to speak with my friend.
He's a very good player, golfer.
Yeah, I know.
He went to
But he
college.
says
The Italian Prime Minister joked about how Trump loved talking to his press when she hated talking to hers. Despite her humorous moments, Meloni commended Trump's efforts to end Russia's invasion in Ukraine. She's pretty awesome, to be honest. I don't know about her politics, but the cult of personality is there.
Thank you very much, Donald, Mr. President, for hosting us today in this important meeting. And I think it is an important day, a new phase, after 3 years and a half that we didn't see any kind of sign from the Russian side that there was a willing for dialogue. So something is...
She opens up with a tone like, okay, boys, let the adults talk now.
Changing, something has changed, thanks to you. Thanks also to the stalling in the battlefield, which was achieved with the bravery of Ukrainians and with the unity that we all provided to Ukraine. And the reason why I mention it is that we also have to remind that if we want to reach peace and if we want to guarantee justice, we have to do it united. So that's why it's a very good day, the one we are in. You can obviously count on Italy as it was from the beginning. We are on the side of Ukraine, and we do absolutely support your efforts towards peace.
So Italy positions itself as the pragmatical NATO player. They are supportive of the US line, but they also keep Europe from drowning in German speeches. Former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney discusses the meeting, claiming a good bit of progress.
Volodymyr Zelensky has spoken since his meeting with US President and EU leaders at the White House. Now, he's confirmed there is no date set for Ukraine's leader to meet with his Russian counterpart, but says he is prepared for a trilateral meeting.
We just confirmed after this productive meeting with President and then with all our colleagues, with the partners, we confirmed that we are ready for a trilateral meeting. And if Russia proposed to President of the United States bilateral, and then we will see the result of bilateral, and then it can be the trilateral. So I said always, so Ukraine will never stop on the way to peace.
He's open to trilateral meetings, but let's be honest, these meetings are speed dating events, with Putin always being the one who ghosts. Let's face it, it's not in Russia's best interest to do a ceasefire or to have any meetings. Every meeting Putin attends is going to be for his own good PR, you know. But Russia's RSVP will always be arriving via drones and missiles.
And we are ready for any kind of formats, but on the level of leaders.
Well, joining me now is former White House Chief of Staff Mick Mulvaney. Good morning to you. You just heard from President Zelensky there talking about these trilateral talks. What do you make of that?
That there's a good bit of progress. Look, I know there's a lot of folks saying that, folks who don't like Donald Trump saying that Alaska was a disaster, people who like Donald Trump saying Alaska was the first road to a Nobel Peace Prize. I think those are two extremes. I think if you look down the middle, what you'll realize is that things are trending in the right direction, Holly. They are closer to a deal to end the war in Ukraine today than they were 4 days ago. That doesn't mean they're close to a deal. I think there's a lot of work to be done. Keep in mind, I'm talking to some friends of mine here tonight in Washington, D.C., and one of the words that was thrown around on a regular basis today was a security guarantee. I've talked to 5 different people. I got 6 different possible definitions of what a security guarantee looks like, which means there's a lot of work to be done. But generally speaking, it seems like things are moving in the right direction. I would not be surprised if there was some meeting between Zelensky, Putin, and maybe Trump before the end of this week, and certainly before the end of next.
So they are admitting that we're talking about territory swaps and security guarantees, but this is also a translation that Ukraine will lose land and in return might get a slightly tighter embrace with NATO. Unfortunately, this is how real life works. It's not a Marvel cinematic movie ending where everything works out at the end. Crimea is basically gone. The West knows it, Trump knows it, Russia knows it. So the deal right now is about freezing Russia's further advance. But I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I don't think Russia will agree into any ceasefire. I think they're just stalling for time so they can eat away more.
Well, wow. If that is the case, then it is significant progress. I mean, the optics of this meeting looked very different to last time.
The oblasts, what they're called, they're gone. They'll be taken by Russia as well.
Friendlier tone, I have to say. With these trilateral talks, just spell it out for us, Mick. What will that actually look like? What's the next steps? As you mentioned, security guarantees, there's a lot of ideas being floated around at the moment, but what are some of those, I guess, suggestions that you're hearing from your sources there?
Yeah, the general outline, I think, is sort of something everybody sort of tacitly recognizes. The general outline is that Ukraine gives up some territory I know that Zelensky has said it violates the Constitution and so forth, but I don't think there's anybody who's in this discussion seriously who's thinking that Crimea would go back to Ukraine as part of a deal.
Yeah,
that's
good
just
luck.
not going to happen. Questions about Donbass and Donetsk, etc., eastern Ukraine, those will continue. But generally speaking, there'll be some territory.
Everything Russia currently holds will remain with Russia. I don't think they will give up territory. They will hold on to the territory they have. And look, let's say Russia agrees to the ceasefire, right? They will hold on to the territory they have, and then they will prepare for an even harsher invasion of Ukraine further a few years down the line. They will amass more troops, and then they will just blitzkrieg through Ukraine. The only way I would see Ukraine surviving this, if Putin agrees to a ceasefire, is if we sneakily somehow get them inside the European Union and NATO. We'll see.
That is lost by Ukraine. Generally speaking, by the same token, there'll be some type of security guarantee, a closer relationship between Ukraine and the West. That's writ large. That's sort of the macro positions. Where the details end up is obviously going to be the difference between getting a deal and not getting a deal. Again, all I say is that they're talking, and there was never going to be a deal without talking. It doesn't mean there's going to be one. It just means there's a chance now when there might not have been a week ago.
You talk about land, giving over land there, but is it a peace deal, giving Russia what they want?
Yeah, to a certain extent. There's no question. But keep in mind, when Russia invaded Crimea, which I think may have been 10 years ago now. I lose track. It was before the first Trump administration. Europe didn't go to war. America didn't go to war. I don't even think Ukraine went to war over Crimea. There's just a unique piece of history there and a connection between the Crimean Peninsula and the Russian native homeland. So I hear what people are saying, oh my goodness, we don't want to reward the Russians for this type of behavior. I get it, but this is the real world. And the real world is that short of World War III, I do not see Russia giving up Crimea. And I honestly do not see the Europeans or the Americans saying, you know what, without Crimea going back to Ukraine, there's no deal. I think tacitly, behind the scenes, people have acknowledged that Crimea will now be part of Russia, whether it's not, it is recognized.
Yeah, everybody knows it, but Zelensky doesn't want to admit it, that Ukraine won't be getting its land back, the land it lost to Russia. It's done. We all know that. But that thing that they said that you can't reward aggression is like you are stuck between a rock and a hard place, because unless you actually want World War III, giving Russia what they want is the inevitable endgame, unfortunately.
Is open for obviously debate, but there I think has to be some type of land transfer here in order to get a peace deal.
You know, I think by 2030, EU maps will just quietly shrink Ukraine, and no one will mention it. Just like nobody wants to talk about the uncle that got arrested, you know. So here's the vibe, right? Germany drones on. Trump plays golf in his head. Zelensky tries to keep hope alive, and Giorgia Meloni becomes the meme queen of international diplomacy just by rolling her eyes. And beneath all that comedy, the real truth, which is wars end up with maps being redrawn, hundreds of thousands deceased, America is still calling the shots, and Europe is awkwardly trying to look relevant. But at least Italy gave us the reaction GIF or GIF of the year. But let's have a small reality check. Without the US, Europe is just another conference with bad coffee. Drop your takes in the comments. Was Meloni just bored? Was she tired from her trip? Or did she actually just use her face to tell the truth? And hey, subscribe before Germany proposes a ceasefire by PowerPoint. So see you on the next one.